Stay up to date on the latest in music with Sound Up with Mark Goodman and Alan Light. Join the Sound Up Pod Squad simply by liking our Facebook, following us on X, and signing up for our weekly newsletter at sounduppod.com.
This is Sound Up with Mark Goodman and Alan Light, the only music podcast that matters.
All right. I'm Mark Goodman.
And I am Alan Light.
On this episode of Sound Up, singer-songwriter and emo legend Chris Carrabba of Dashboard Confessional joins us to discuss their fall tour and new collaborative single with Mokita.
Plus some wild music news this week. Jane's Addiction fighting each other on stage, canceling a show, and apologizing to fans. The Boss rocks a hometown gig at the See Here Now Festival in Jersey, and Pink Floyd could be the next big catalog sale.
All this, plus a few Sound Up Pod Squad concert reviews, and as always, our new music picks of the week.
Before we get into all of that, each of us saw some big shows this past week. We want to give you some concert reviews, and Roger, we should probably start with you since you're going to tee up our guest coming later in the show.
That's right, Chris Carrabba of Dashboard Confessional is joining us later, and I got to see Dashboard last week in New York City, and it was a special night for a couple of reasons. One was the concert was at Pier 17, and I had never been there before, and it is a spectacular outdoor venue with these beautiful views of New York City, of the Brooklyn Bridge, of the skyline, and when you get there and you get great weather, it is just an amazing place to see the show. And I'm a big Dashboard Confessional fan. I've known Chris for a long time and been a follower of this band since their very, very early days. So being able to see them in this setting was really special. And they were fantastic. It was exactly what I hoped for and what I expect from a Dashboard show. It was a great set list, mix of old, mix of new. It also had a ton of crowd participation, which if you've never seen Dashboard live, that is a very big part of the show. The audience knows the words to every song and has certain parts where they will sing along and do a call and response with Chris. So it's really, really amazing.
And that's still true wherever we are, more than 20 years in.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, that's the remarkable part of that, right?
Yes, and them doing Vindicated in New York City with the skyline as the backdrop, even Chris had mentioned the Spider-Man connection from the movie with that song.
Right, Vindicated, it became a hit because of its placement in Spider-Man. And people, I'll just say, that venue, I mean, people listening from all over the country, for us to talk about a venue is meaningless. I will say, I've been to a bunch of shows there. I just, check out my Instagram. I've posted shots from this amazing venue at the bottom part of the island. You're looking at the East River. You're seeing the Brooklyn Bridge, Brooklyn, and then you see all these skyscrapers, and there's a giant, old colonial sailboat right next to you. Every band I've ever seen there stops in the middle and goes, this place is amazing.
It's high risk, high reward is what I would say.
Why high risk?
Because if you get the wrong weather, there's no place to take cover and you're just standing in puddles.
That would be true.
I mean, that's what it is. That's what that kind of outdoor, but there really isn't any escape. If it's bad, you're just standing out there or you're bailing out.
Been there.
Yeah, that's all I'm saying. Just 100%. What you're signing up for.
Well, lucky for me, I did catch a great night with a great band and a great performance from Dashboard Confessional and Chris Carrabba. It was really, really a great evening.
Great. I'm sorry that I missed them this time. I saw the last tour last year. I saw them at Jones Beach, a great beach amphitheater, which is another great venue around here. What else we got?
So I had two shows, so I'll do them quick. First one was my first time in a new venue. I went to see St. Vincent, who everybody knows I love, at the Brooklyn Paramount last Tuesday night, I guess. And I had not been since the Paramount reopened earlier this year. On the one hand, it's a beautiful restored old movie theater, one of those movie palaces like what the Beacon was or what the King's Theater deeper in Brooklyn is like. And it looks great and everything's sort of state of the art. On the other hand, it is a standing venue, which I didn't really expect, because when I think of those kinds of rooms, you think of them as seated rooms.
Yeah.
And it's big. That's the other. I mean, maybe if you took all the seats out of some of those rooms, they would feel really big too. but it's a really large floor. There's a lot of bodies in there. And I will say, and I do not hold this against Annie Clark or anybody on the St. Vincent team, unlike Roger's experience at Pier 17, this was not the ideal crowd and concert experience, because it was one of those nights where the guy standing next to us would not shut the hell up.
He wasn't singing along. Was he just yakking?
Just yakking.
Yeah,
we moved to another spot. We were standing in a puddle of beer. Then there was some other guy being in front of us. We had to move, but we couldn't find this. It was one of those, we all know those nights.
Yeah.
This was one of those nights where we could not catch a break from the crowd. So all that said,
you sound like an old man,
That's part of the gig. Some nights it all works for you. Some nights it doesn't. It's very, I don't want to get side tangent to this, but I ran into a friend who went to see one of the Dead and Company shows at the Sphere. And I don't know if you read, our friend Nick Baumgarten in the New Yorker wrote a piece about going to see Dead and Company at the Sphere. And a lot of it was, people will not shut up. Like, it's a thing. You traveled, you paid huge ticket prices to be there. And they're talking about sandals. And my friend who was there said he was exactly right. He was at this different night, different show, and it was just a racket, and it was super distracting so I don't know what's going on with people's post-COVID concert behavior, but that's a separate conversation. So all of that said, I love St. Vincent. I love Annie and her playing. I really like the new record, but this show, it was the first time I felt like I want something else from her, and I don't know what that is. It's the first time I feel like I've seen her where she wasn't in a character, in a persona. It was just sort of Annie Clark playing the St. Vincent songs and being sort of funny between, doing the thing. And that in itself is interesting because I don't really feel like I've ever seen that. And the band was great. The players are tremendous. But it's the first time that it didn't all come together for her. Song by song, everything was strong, but I didn't love it the way that I have so often loved St. Vincent shows before. So I'll leave it there. The next night, went to the Beacon to see our friend Peter Frampton play. And he sits down. He comes out moving very slowly, walking with a cane, as his muscular degeneration does continue, but sits in a chair and plays his ass off for 2.5 hours.
Wow.
And sounded great. Singing voice sounded great. And I can't help but be so inspired. I mean, it was 5 years ago that he went out on his farewell tour after he'd gotten his diagnosis and was
That's
feeling,
right. Wow.
yeah, it was pre-lockdown because the Europe dates were supposed to be in 2020 and ended up getting, but that was after all the US dates.
Right.
So it's 5 years ago that he was saying, I don't know how much longer I can play, so I'm going to do this tour while I still can. And he is still out there, and he is in great spirits, and he's playing a long show, playing a ton of guitar, is in, great mood. Saw him afterwards briefly. He's super excited about the upcoming Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction, which for years he's always come on with a film of a bunch of clips throughout the career, and then it ends on David Bowie saying, on guitar, Peter Frampton, and that's when he comes out. But now it's that clip, and then they put up the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame inductee logo, and then he comes out. So he's so into it, he's even changed the intro of the show for it. So it was a busy week. Friday, I went to see a Latin jazz orchestra play James Bond music, which was awesome, but I'll leave that for another time.
Man, that sounds really, really great.
That was really cool. That's why you live in New York City. That was a show in Bryant Park.
Right.
A beautiful night and a super cool show, but
great news to hear that Peter is doing that well, that he can continue to tour and be up there for a long show.
Yeah, it's not a compromised show in the least.
That's awesome.
And to think about how long it's been, how long can I keep going? Well, still doing it.
So great. I got a concert review that'll take us into some music news. I was at Pier 17, the aforementioned Pier 17, for the second night of Jane's Addiction and Love and Rockets. Love and Rockets opening for Jane's on a spectacular double bill in my mind. Just an incredible double bill. And for me, first time I've ever seen either of these bands live. And I kind of can't believe I'm even saying that. Both bands were freaking amazing. Love and Rockets opening up. They started off with The Light, into Kundalini Express, into No Big Deal, it was just bam, 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 great song, great song, great song. And the band sounds as great as ever. You know, David J is right up. I mean, it was everything that I would have wanted from a Love and Rockets show. I can't talk about it enough. I was at Ball of Confusion. They stretched on Ball of Confusion, and it was really, really good. So Alive, of course, the big hit. No New Tale to Tell. I mean, every song. I can't stop raving about it. I was so happy that I got to see these guys for the first time. Janes, also, who followed up that night, was before a night we're going to talk about in just a second. But Perry Farrell, he would do these raps on stage that I would look at my friend who I was with and go, I didn't understand. What did he just say? And she was like, I don't know. I didn't understand that. He was like, it was almost non sequiturs and things. And I think he was drinking, maybe. Something was happening. Something was happening. But again, I'm first time viewer for Jane's Live. And again, song after song after song. There's several songs that I'm not familiar with. Most I am. In fact, the first song, Kettle Whistle, I didn't remember. That's what they opened with. But Summertime Rolls, obviously, Jane Said, Mountain Song, and the closing few songs, 3 Days, Stop, Been Caught Stealing. Just incredible. And Dave Navarro sounded amazing. We were talking, and I don't know, Roger, or either of you guys, if you've seen Jane's, it seemed like it was something that was in Dave Navarro's contract, that he was never in the spotlight. He always wanted to be, he was wearing this long coat, you know, and he was just like mysteriously, you know.
Guitar players get to do that.
Well, yeah, except, I mean, he's the quintessential rock star, that dude. Look at how he looks. I mean, he's just incredible. And I just thought it was funny that he didn't want to, even for his solos, he didn't come to the front of the stage and take a spotlight. And it wasn't like he was pissed about it. That was the way things went.
I wonder if it had anything to do with the health issues he's had recently.
That may be. I mean, the times when I did see him in the spotlight, he looked fine. And certainly, as we'll talk about in a second, he seemed to defend himself pretty well at the fight just a couple of nights later. But just to wrap up my review, Jane's crushed it at Pier 17. And it's those shows that I posted some pictures from. So if you want to check.
We'll get those pictures up in our gallery at sounduppod.com. Oddly, first time I ever saw Jane's Addiction live, they were opening for Love and Rockets here in New York City. And we were like, who is this
Jane's
band?
opened for Love and Rockets.
Nice full circle.
Absolutely. And they were fantastic.
Wow. It was great. I mean, Perry sounded fantastic. He looked great. There was actually down front, we couldn't see it. We didn't know what was going on, but apparently there was a fight down front. And Perry stopped the band for a second and, you know, pointed down to the front and said, hey, you know, there's no fighting here. And that was it. And then they played more of the song, and then he stopped again and made the guy apologize, and he made them make up. He didn't get him kicked out. He made them make up in front of the audience, which apparently happened.
So before we get into the next story and as we transition into music news, yeah. I got to do this live that you guys haven't seen.
Oh.
Since we've come on here to tape this, because audience will know this by then, a statement from Jane's Addiction.
Yes.
To all the fans, the bands have made the difficult decision to take some time away as a group. As such, they will be canceling the remainder of the tour. Refunds for the canceled dates will be issued at your point of purchase. If you purchase from third-party resale site like StubHub, SeatGeek, etc., please reach out to them direct. Thank you, Jane's Addiction. So that is literally just happening as we're here doing this. So I suppose we should back up now to talk about why this is happening.
Yeah, Mark, you may have seen their last full concert.
Literally. I literally thought that. I was talking to the friend that I went with, and we were like talking about this story, about this incredible, this fight that happened. And we thought, yeah, maybe we caught the last show. I mean, it was Boston.
The next night or the next show, anyway, in Boston.
Which they did perform. Everything, as I said, everything was fine in New York. But the next gig following New York was Boston. And things got ugly on stage. I haven't seen specifically what actually happened, except that at one point, and there's video of this, we see Perry Farrell getting up into Dave Navarro's face. And he literally gets crew and other band members pull him off.
He sort of bangs into him. Yeah.
Right. But I haven't seen anywhere what was said or what happened or any, like, he didn't hit a bad note or something. I don't know.
I mean, the things I have heard, and
Yeah.
I don't know that any of this is confirmed in any real way. There were two issues, one of which, as you alluded to, is there's a lot of talk that Perry is drinking somehow, out of control through these shows, and that they're not satisfied with what he's doing on stage, and it's making it very difficult. Apparently, he's been frustrated that he feels like the band is mixed way too, like, higher than the vocals. And he said people in the crowd were yelling, "We can't hear you," over the band. And when he heard that, he went over and, like, took that out on
Dave?
Yes.
Because as we all know, he has his own little futzer up there, this little box that he messes around with through the whole show.
So maybe by the time this airs, there'll be more information or detail. Don't know. That's what I've been hearing. Meantime, then there was a subsequent story from Perry's wife, if you saw this, saying that when they peeled Perry off of Dave, that Eric Avery jumped in and sucker punched him 2 or 3 times. And she was punched Perry.
Punched Perry.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, apparently he grabbed him in a headlock to get him away, and I guess hit him 3 times, and it got while he was doing it.
Can't they just observe the Gallagher brothers and figure it out?
Did you see Liam's tweet with a photo of the two of them, fighting each other, and he wrote something like, "Their attitude sucks." So it didn't take long for Liam to jump in.
It's sad that they had to do that.
On the heels of that, initially they canceled the following night's show in Bridgeport, but literally just as we're having this conversation, they announced the rest of the tour is off.
And the hope, my hope, and I was speaking with folks who I know are involved with the tour, their hope was, okay, they canceled one show. There's 5 days until the next show. Maybe they can figure it out, because while Perry Farrell may not need the payday, the rest of his band does, and Love and Rockets absolutely does. So kind of a shame that these two couldn't work it out.
It sounds like it's more than 2. If the bass player's jumping in and taking swings.
Well, drummer Stephen Perkins, so far the only one who's not mentioned in any story.
Quickly get out from behind the kit fast enough.
He could throw drumsticks from where he was.
Some sticks. So, all right, well, there's all that.
But elsewhere,
in happier concert news, live performance news, this weekend was the See Here Now Festival in Asbury Park, New Jersey, on the beach. And for the first time, Bruce Springsteen and the E Street Band headlined the Sunday evening performance. And the whole thing kind of turned into a little bit of a boss fest.
Yeah.
Saturday night, there was a jam. So our friend Danny Clinch, photographer and Asbury Park VIP, he has a gallery down there, is really a driving force behind this festival. He sort of organized a jam night at the Stone Pony, at the legendary Stone Pony, on Saturday night, following the Saturday performances, where Bruce and Jake Clemens jumped on stage, joining Noah Kahn, Grace Potter, Robert Randolph, a bunch of the folks who played at the festival. And they played a bunch of rock and roll standards and blues songs, Chuck Berry songs, and had a grand old time. That was just Saturday night. Then on Sunday, Bruce sat in with the Gaslight Anthem. We were just talking about the Gaslight Anthem the other week. Mark, you just saw them in Central Park.
Yeah.
He came back out and played with Trey Anastasio's band on a version of Kitty's Back that they played. And then E Street closed out the festival with a set including a bunch of very specific Jersey songs and a bunch of songs from the first album, Greetings from Asbury Park, New Jersey. Just to run some highlights: Blinded by the Light, first time since 2017. Does This Bus Stop at 82nd Street, first time since 2017. 4th of July, Asbury Park, first time since 2016. Local Hero, very apropos song, a tour debut. Meeting Across the River, first time since 2016. Closed with Jersey Girl, a tour debut for that. And on the heels of her very sad announcement last week, Patti Scalfa came out and sang Tougher Than the Rest.
I was wondering if she was going to make it out. That is great news also.
That having announced that her live appearances are very limited because of her cancer diagnosis, she did come out, join for this show, which must have been, people must have gone bananas.
Yeah, for sure.
So everybody I know who was there was posting, going out of their mind, saying show of a lifetime, and sounds like it was a pretty special one.
Glad to hear that Patty was out there. I'm so sorry that I was not able to be at that show. Wow. And that's it. Bruce's tour is done now.
Well, it's not. He's got Canadian dates. He's done with the States.
He's done with the States.
But he's got right at the end of October into November, he's got a Canadian run fully. I think starts in Montreal and ends on the out west. And then there's dates next summer in Europe.
Right.
He'll pick it back up then, but that closes out the U.S. dates for this tour.
Because I know Danny Clinch was checking out his tour schedule, and actually, he'd never asked Bruce to do this before, to play this festival, and saw that there was an opening.
Baltimore on Friday night was the last official show, the last stadium show, and then they tagged on this as a festival date, and splendid time was had by all.
Indeed. All right, so there's a quick look at some music news. Oh, I think we have one more story, don't we?
You had one more we were going to mention, yeah.
This is important. And Alan, I know you've been talking about this for a while. Pink Floyd, one of the last bands yet to sell their catalog. They're close to a deal?
They are close to a deal of the few major hundreds of millions of dollars catalog deals that are still left and haven't been done. The Queen deal that was done recently was, certainly one of the last big targets, but Pink Floyd is the one that's still kind of hanging out there and has been a really contentious fight. The infighting between the band members have made it really difficult to get this thing done. Roger Waters' statements and behavior have scared off plenty of potential buyers looking to risk $500 million on an acquisition like this. But apparently Sony Music is in advanced talks, quote from the Variety report, is advanced talks to require the group's recorded music rights for a price between $400 and $500 million. Specifics are not clear. If they were able to hold on to the high end of that price, that's kind of what they've been talking about all along. If it's on the lower end, as the Financial Times says, it means that the fighting and Roger Waters has devalued the catalog by as much as 20%. If it takes it down from $500 to $400 million, that's a hit. Other potential suitors were said to be underwhelmed with the catalog's annual earnings. So, we've talked about these deals. We've talked about what it was a big boom that has maybe tailed off a little bit. That, the company that initially started driving a lot of this was the Hypnosis company in England. They've had to sell off a bunch of the catalogs that they acquired. They've reorganized and restructured their board and moved the role that Mercuriadis, who was sort of the mastermind behind all this, has been moved out of, I think, the CEO role and into just a board position. So there's maybe a sense that the bloom is off this rose a little bit. But there are still some of these big prizes out there and available. And Floyd has come on in and out of rumors for a number of years. And we'll see if this gets done, and we'll see what the price tag is, and if we know what the price tag is.
I wonder, has the numbers, have they changed over the years? I mean, we're talking about the fact that the bloom is off the rose, that Pink Floyd aside, it's not such good business anymore to spend this incredible amount of money for catalogs.
But look, they still ended up doing, the rumors were it was at or near $1 billion deal for the Queen catalog. Now, the Queen catalog is one that it's among the easier ones to make a case for. What we see for continuing placements, commercial usage, the theatrical show that will continue to run around the world,
they're much more of a going concern.
Yes, it's clear that there's a lot more, that there's a pulse around the Queen catalog in a way that you can understand, okay, that's still going to throw off a lot of revenue for quite some time. And the question is, for any of these, when you're looking not at the next 5 years, but 20, 30 years down the road from now, are you confident that there's still going to be enough relevance and still going to be enough opportunity for some of these bands? Or are they just going to get old and and backburnered? There's always going to be 14-year-old boys who smoke weed for the first time and discover Dark Side of the Moon. There is an eternal market, but how big that is as it gets less illicit to do that is a fair question.
I think other groups may sidle in there as the years go by for 14-year-old boys to listen to when they're blasted for the first time.
That's fair enough.
It's interesting, though, that it seems to the business folks that it's, in fact, Roger Waters' comments that have devalued this catalog. I think that's a really interesting situation.
It's a volatile. He's certainly for a long time now sort of danced on that edge of what will people continue to tolerate from him and continue to, support him. If you feel like he's one statement away from just blowing up his whole thing.
Right.
If
What's that catalog worth?
$500 million on the line, that's a big risk to take. I can see people using that as certainly as the opportunity to say, okay, we're interested, but we got to talk about a lower.
It's fire sale.
That's right. Then, right. It's a strong marketing chip to hold. It sounds like others have bailed out. And some of this is also a mass. You're building catalogs.
Sure.
To have a number of them matters. You want to, so for Sony to stay in the game, having the rights, the distribution rights already, even if others drop out, it's still significant for them to have a number of these big ticket catalogs under their umbrella. So
we'll keep our fingers on this one. Yeah. We got to keep our fingers on the pulse of this one. The deal ain't done yet. It ain't over until there's 2 signatures on the bottom line.
In this case, more than 2 signatures.
I meant the company and the artist.
Well, and I don't know if you've seen, but David Gilmour, in doing press around his new project, has said, "I'm happy to get rid of this."
Yeah.
He's like, I don't need the headache of, having to negotiate and navigate with Roger's team for us to do anything. Let it be, I'll take the cash and let it be somebody else's problem.
What a shame. If there was ever a band built for the Sphere.
Right?
That's right. Laser Floyd, they got in there early.
Too bad. That's true. All right. So there we go with the biggest stories of music news that you need to know about here. I'm excited. I think we all are, in fact. We've got Dashboard Confessional, Chris Carrabba, joining us in just a couple of moments here on Sound Up. Stay right where you are. All right. Welcome back. This is Sound Up with Mark Goodman and Alan Light. Chris Carrabba, as Dashboard Confessional, has been the poster child for emo pretty much since his first album in 2000, even as the nature of that band changed, going from an acoustic side project to a full band as Carrabba's main focus. Dashboard's last album release, 2022, All the Truth I Can Tell, was a return to his acoustic roots and his personal take on hitting 40. Dashboard, boy, can we talk. Dashboard Confessional is out on tour right now with dates running through the end of October, and Chris Carrabba is joining us right now on Sound Up. Welcome, 40-year-old Chris Carrabba. Or actually, you must be, I think you're a bit older than that now.
Plus a little.
Plus a little.
I am.
I got a few years on you. We can talk later. It only gets worse, so get ready. This new music that we have from you, as I was just saying, mostly at this point anyway, features with other artists. Sam Tinna's last year, Yellow Card, and this latest one, the feature on this new one from Mokita. It Was Real to Me is the name of this. Really personal, kind of a take, in my opinion, on a breakup. What prompted the work with Mokita and the song, and how do you two work together? Who's writing? Who's producing? All of that. Take me from there.
Well, with Mokita, it's more like I'm writing and he's producing as we go really fast. And his whole thing is this beautiful, lush production that he does. And he wanted to couple it with sort of the more sparse acoustic thing that I favor so often. And it was a fun project that kind of happened off the cuff. And all these, to your point, Mark, about all these features and kind of guest spots and collaborations, they were a way out for me through this writer's block that I was at. And I was realized it was the absence of friends and the absence of community that was part of the last piece of the puzzle. I'd been in this accident. And while I was in the chair, recovering forever, I was I don't want to do anything alone. I don't want to do my laundry alone. I certainly don't want to write songs alone. So that was sort of my foray between just getting together with my friends as I found my way back to my own songs. And I figured, why not put them out and show people the process before I show them the new Dashboard stuff.
Was that a shift for you to feel that need for collaboration, community in the work? Was it a different focus? Because it could be that you're somebody who works very much in isolation and in your own head, and this sort of flipped another switch.
That's right, Alan. Traditionally I wrote Dashboard songs very kind of end to end on my own. That may be a bit of an overstatement, but the bulk of the writing of the song itself would be me by myself. And that was really born out of the fact that Dashboard originally was a side project. I was in probably no less than 5 or 7 bands at the time that I was a writer. I was the main writer or a main writer in, but they were all heavy duty collaborations. And I was when I turned my attention to what would become Dashboard, I guess my pencil was really sharp. So the songs just spilled out, fully formed and ready to go. And just over the years, I've had less time to spend with friends in the writing, but still had the mindset that I was supposed to be doing this alone. So I thought, well, how could I replicate that original scenario where I was in so many bands at once? I was like, well, what if I go sit in these like fabled writing sessions I hear about so often and see what happens there? And it's proving true. I've got some great, beautiful collaborative work that I'm really proud of, some of which will probably end up on Dashboard Records, but also like maybe the next day a whole song will spill out that I've by myself. But then the first thing I do is run to my friends. Hey, let's finish this.
Has there been a fundamental change then in the way that you're kind of looking at creating? Are you sort of more open or leaning more towards working with others, writing with others?
I think I don't know how fundamental the change is. That's a really good question. Like, I don't know how permanent anything is ever with songwriting, but I can tell you like right now, the thing that gets me lit up the most is being in the room with somebody and where you can see their physical reaction to a good idea, or where you can have that instant and kind of vaulted dopamine rush that you get when somebody else cracks the code.
I know that there's absolutely no answer to this really, but you very rapidly brought up the accident from a few years back. Do you feel like this shift, whatever it is, however permanent, however long it lasts, did that come from the rupture of what the accident was and being sidelined and everything like that? Or was it, as you said, songwriting changes, the way that you create changes, and this...
Or was it COVID?
Well, and there's that in there too.
I think they were all of those things were true and remain true. But I will say as these things can be, the accident and the recovery produced a monumental shift in the way I looked at the world. And writing's just the lens through which I look at the world and try to navigate it. So of course it was changed to some degree. But how lucky is that though? Because like I'm sort of an old now. So like how do you get like that shot of adrenaline over and over again as you age? I worried. I kind of wish I hadn't had to crash a motorcycle to find out. But, you do what it takes for rock and roll.
That's done now.
Yeah. It worked for Dylan. So,
It did. But, Mark, I'm no Dylan. I could have probably, crashed my skateboard or something instead.
You were talking about the moments when you're working with someone else that you can see the visceral reaction to something that has just happened. And I have found with you, and I think your fans have found with you, that we have visceral moments with you. You turn phrases so beautifully that in simple ways articulate a complex emotion and a moment. For example, because this is something I've been doing since the song came out, I just played Stolen. We watched the season pull up its own stakes. That vision, the last weekend of the last week. I mean, you capture it beautifully. And I wonder, are you now feeling, I'm not there anymore. I was younger, I was freer. Now I'm older, I'm a little more stuck. How do you feel about that?
I was feeling stuck for quite a while. And that is the enemy, right, of creativity. And you wait it out. You have no other option. I think I heard Johnny Resnick say this once. It's like writer's block's not writing. It's writing tons of stuff that just doesn't feel like it carries the weight of importance anymore. And I think I know that I went through that. And you just pray that you're going to be out of it. And when you're out of it, you remember, I just have to get as much down as I can. So, these things that I kind of, the lyric you just remarked on, for example, yes, I was younger when I wrote that, but I think I see the world more fully now. And so the question becomes, what am I thrilled about in the discovery of new things? And what am I thrilled about in the processing of the same old things? And the answer is plenty.
Then there's also the performance piece of this. I mean, Roger spoke earlier in the show about your show at Pier 17 last week, and still seeing everybody singing every word, everybody understanding when it's their turn to sing, that 2 decades plus later, you still have that audience that's dialed in and feeling it, that profoundly. That works. That that's still there. What's the balance or what's the push as you're saying, to continue to find the new directions when you are still getting that response to the stuff that, that you've been doing.
You have no choice. I'm given no choice about whether to keep writing or not. It's just who I am. Now, a different question is, which songs do I play now? So how many of the new songs are you going to get away with?
Right.
The answer, fellas, is not so many, but not none. And that's the beauty of it. They are there to embrace these new songs and experience them in the live setting. I'll tell you, I don't know if you talked about this, Roger, but we had some moment at that show the other night, just as I was kind of giving credit to, Roger's brother, Alex Coletti, famously gave me an MTV Unplugged. I was the only non-platinum artist ever given an Unplugged, I think, or the first. And it went platinum and changed my life forever. I'm telling this very story to this audience. And what I was saying to them was that Alex came to a show, a very small one, and he saw that crowd interaction you just described. And said something he thought was a little bit missing from his original conception of Unplugged, and thought he'd revive the show to get it in there one time for sure. And I was the right band for it. What a flattering thing. Well, I wanted to do right by him and show him that we still had it as an audience and band, and we did. But even more so, in that moment, the light rig went down. And in this moment, the crowd jumped into action. And I don't mean like waving their flashlights on. It was like this purposeful, like, I'll send you guys a picture of the way they shone their lights. Thousands of people instantly became the light show. And all I could think about was Alex in that moment. I was like, he pegged this audience so on the nose that they will not let anything dissuade them from feeling fully whatever they're feeling in this song. And they're going to take it over the top. And they still do.
Love that. Can you talk a little bit about, since, you have passed 40, and that's a big signpost for everyone. I know that when I crossed 40, I really did feel as though my perspective had changed, that there were things that I looked at that I did when I was younger and that I was involved with when I was younger, that I was like, yeah, that really was not as good as I could have been. Is there any reassessment going on?
Of course. It's a little bit torturous. Is there an age, I wonder, where you get to where you could just go, okay, good, I did it?
After 60.
Okay, so
Zero fucks.
I'm going to keep my eye on the horizon. I pick apart every record I've made still. I think that I recognize there's certain ones that I got fully right, and it's because I had total commitment to whatever the inception of the idea was. I would not allow myself to veer. I could find my way back to it. And then there's a point in your career where there's a lot of people relying on you for their livelihood. So they bring a lot of input to the table. And I have a lot of respect for these people. This is not it wasn't calamity. It wasn't like, oh, and then the Suits came in and ruined everything. That is not what I mean. Everybody wanted a big win for me. And I certainly wanted to deliver for them. But what I do think is that I would respond to what I thought they thought the vision could be, as opposed to what I knew was where I could be effective. And who doesn't want to go have a little adventure and try something new? You started speaking with me about, or you quoted the song Stolen. And that was during a period where I began chasing, maybe not chasing, but being inspired by the groupthink kind of mentality of like, well, maybe down the road this way. Specifically, Stolen was Jimmy Iovine had made a suggestion of a chorus that didn't have very many words, which I don't like to do generally. I'm writing a thesis in the chorus. And I gave it a shot in Stolen. And that's one of my favorite songs I've ever written. So thankfully, there's a lot of good things to find when I go back and I look at these periods where I feel less certain. I don't feel at all like it was a loss or a win. I just feel very certain of an era of work, the first few records. And then the last record I made, which is a couple of years old now, but that one was a fully realized piece of work that was unified from end to end and came out like a cannon shot. Like it was like a 10-day, like the songs were just done,
Wow.
So this is maybe peripherally related to that. I got to ask you about doing the emo super jam at Bonnaroo.
Yeah, what a time, Alan. I wish you were there.
On two levels. One is just what it was to do that and to curate and think about and put that together. But what that, this sort of emo as institution now that, it cracks me up that you can't go 3 days doing the New York Times crossword puzzle without, angsty punk genre being a clue in, and what that represents as far as just, it's a thing that's in the vocabulary, that's in the world, that, that is this. Again, it's not an institution, it's at least sort of an established thing. So I guess pulling those together, putting that event together, putting the Super Jam together, and sort of what that was thinking about, looking across, hey, here's what I did and what we did, and sort of where this sits now.
I screenshot that every time, and me and like Mikey Way will send it back and forth to each other. Hey, they got us again. I think me and my friends were onto something back then, it turns out.
Apparently.
But to bring it to the Super Jam thing, where we, for those that don't know, Bonnaroo is a big festival that does a thing every year where they have an artist, this time it was me, come in and curate a song that celebrates something that's important to them. They actually suggested doing the emo scene to me because they know how important it is to me. See, this is not a four-letter word to me. I've been a very proud member of this community well before it was heralded as a thing that was coming to take over or like to be excited about. Well before that, and certainly well after it became a slag that you might say about bands. And it's kind of come back into favor in some fashion, like all things do. And I've loved it. I've been a huge fan of the scene that inspired me. I've been a huge fan of my peers as they went on to great success. And I've been a massive fan of the lineage that so clearly came out of the inspiration that we were drawing on and maybe set forward. So it was a great opportunity to kind of stand up in front in the middle and say, let's play all these songs together.
What was just the logistics? I know because I'm from previous years and people who've done it, of what it is to decide, what the dream set that you want to put together is for that.
Yeah, it was a long process. What I want to say is like, oh, no problem, man. I came in smoking cigarettes and tossed it and we went on stage. But that is just not how it goes. We were very meticulous about wanting to, because, okay, here's the other thing is I wasn't playing Dashboard. I played a couple Dashboard songs, but we're playing all the songs that inspired this scene, that happened during the scene, that are maybe my friends' bands like Paramore or Taking Back Sunday, My Chemical Romance, these bands of my peers that I grew up with that went on to be, I wanted to play them perfectly. I wanted to play them, I wanted to do our spin on it, but I wanted it to be as accurate as can be. And I assembled a band of absolute ringers that really believe in this scene and are in big bands in the scene or in big bands inspired by this scene. And then, of course, we had the guest performers of all guest performers to join us. And we really tied it in together. I'll give you a great example. We did a My Chemical Romance song, and we had Jeff Rickley from Thursday, fantastic singer frontman, come and sing it. He'd also sang a Thursday song with us. He stayed up and he sang My Chemical Romance. And why did I pick Jeff from Thursday, many people asked. And I said, well, you wouldn't have ever heard of My Chemical Romance, and neither would I if it wasn't for Jeff. He's the one who discovered them. He produced their first EP. He basically A&R'd their first couple records for them and helped them shape them. He was the consummate Big Brother hero guy to the whole scene by developing that band, which I think is the most important band that came out of our scene. So, and on the other end of things, I had Anthony Green, who's famously from Seosin and Circus Survive, and a solo artist, but also is in a band with at least one member of My Chemical Romance called Ellis Dunes, sing another My Chem song with us, and the list goes on. We had people like pick their favorite songs that inspired them and come and choose that. So some of the choosing was theirs. Most of the choosing was me going, let's learn way more, just in case somebody asks for something that we aren't ready for. I don't want to look like a fool. But you know what, guys? When you're a kid, you get excited about a Green Day record comes out, you lose your mind, you learn every song. You learn to play every song. But then an interesting thing happened for a certain period. I was in Dashboard. I was doing Dashboard. So when Taking Back Sunday would put out a great new record, or My Chem, I didn't really have the time to sit down. I was a fan. I sat down and became obsessed with the songs, but I never learned them. And it was a really illuminative thing. It was like, my friends are so good at music. It's wild, bro. It's wild. They're so good. It was really fantastic to get inside the songs like that.
Huh. Going forward, we're talking about, maybe a new approach to writing, and we're still waiting for maybe that next record that you're theoretically out on tour to support as we speak. What the hell is going on there?
Well, we will have a new song coming out in the next, in short order. I think it's on the 20th. And I have enough songs to put out a record. Now, here's the question, fellas.
Yes.
What do records mean anymore? When the beginning of my career, I had this wonderful way of connecting with people where I put out a song on samplers. I put out 7 songs on 7 different samplers, and then I put out a full length, and then I put out 3 EPs, and then I put a full length out, then I put a 1 song out, and then I got boxed in to what felt like slightly the only option at that point. I don't really know who decided this. Was you just put a record out and then you moved on to the next record 2 years later. And I'm wondering, do I have to wait at all anymore? Does anybody?
You don't have to do anything anymore, right?
Right.
That's in theory the best thing about all the chaos is the options are your own.
That's right. I don't have any answers, though. I have a lot of questions, but I have no answers. But I have a lot of songs, and a lot of them are ready to come out, and so we're going to just start putting them out.
Okay, so not in an album.
I'm not sure not in an album, but I'm not sure that I have to wait to know that I have an album. I'm over that
worth
hump.
Of songs, yeah.
Yes,
okay.
I'm over that hump, and maybe I have an album, but I've been sort of living in this like stasis because I'm like thinking like, well, what if I don't? Who cares?
Now the thing is, there's got to be a reason for it to be an album, right? Before, that was the only thing it could be. Now you could do that. Nobody's stopping you from doing it, but it doesn't. You could do something else. So
that's right.
I wanted to ask, how much is the audience in the front of your mind when you're songwriting or putting together a live set? Because going to the show the other night, it dawned on me walking in as an audience member, I have a part to play in this show. Like, I don't think there's any other show I would walk into or any other band I would go see where I feel like I'm part of the show in some way. Knowing going in, I'm going to be singing certain parts that I want to sing, that I love in these songs. Does that shape how you write or how you put live sets together these days?
I will say this, Roger. I don't think about it when I'm writing, but I do think about it once it's written. And what I think about is, because I will fully agree with you. You're spot on. I think about the audience a lot when it comes to the set list. It is their show. It's not my show. I'm lucky to be there. And so I think about how they might play these songs with me and what order they might sing them the most fully or find the feeling the most fully in them. And I think when I write in a song, I don't believe that every song I've written is meant for us to sing together in the room. Sometimes they're just meant for you to have in your headphones. And so I don't often bring those ones. And I know I get a feeling very early that this is just one that will live off the stage. And the ones that do feel like they're going to be on the stage, then it becomes a sort of like an obsession of mine of like, 2 things are going on. How can I best make a framework for this audience? And then during the show, how can I pivot the most easily? Because you get a sense during the set, like this is where they're going. I'm running back. We have a little talk back mic. You'll see me there a lot. Most often I'm saying, I think we got to flip these 2. I think we got to add this one. This one doesn't feel like the right place that they're in today. And they're taking me to the place. So if I'm trying to force the thing I thought would be a good idea, I'm not going to sing it as well. I'm not going to find it as well either.
Are you doing any new songs live? You say you got some.
Yeah, we're doing one song with
we
Boys
need
Like
a beer
Girls.
break, when the new song.
Yes, you got to go buy some merch sometime, right? It helps us out too. We're doing at least 1 or 2 songs from our latest record which is All the Truth That I Can Tell, and we're doing the new renditions that we have prepared for an EP, that record was largely just me and an acoustic guitar. And even though the few that had drums and more instrumentation on them were still acoustic. And so we've reconfigured some of them to befit the live setting with more muscle. And that was always the idea. We got sidetracked sort of by the pandemic and all that stuff. So the original idea was to record them that way also and put them out as a series of EPs. Maybe that's still the plan. But nonetheless, the songs sound good for that environment and they fit the set better this way for what we're doing. So we fill them out a little bit more. We do about 2 from that. We rotate. We know a lot of them. I think we rotate 1 or 2 slots in from that record. We have a new song that we're doing with Boys Like Girls. Those guys are geniuses. It's real big fun to work with those guys. Big brains in that band. Really giant musical brains in that band. And so we wrote a song together, which is coming out. And why not play it on this tour? Of course we should. So we're having a lot of fun doing that. And we are visiting some older stuff that is not often in our set. We're trying to bring out some things that we've rotated out for reasons no one can ever remember. Yeah.
Chris Carrabba, Dashboard Confessional. It's always great to talk to you. Great to hear the music that's coming from you. We appreciate you coming by Sound Up.
Looking forward to new music imminent.
I'll see you then. It's good to see you guys. Missed you.
Indeed. Welcome back to Sound Up.
So each week, we ask you, our beloved Sound Up Pod Squad, to send us your questions, concert reviews, album reviews, whatever's on your mind. To get involved, join our Facebook page, Sound Up Pod, and stay connected to everything Sound Up related, including future live shows.
Send in your comments or reviews as text or audio message. Send it to connect@sounduppod.com and become part of the podcast, like this doubleheader review. Scott, take it.
Hello, Sound Up hosts and Pod Squad listeners. This is Scott in Houston, occasionally known as Vinyl Under My Nails. I wanted to call in 2 quick concert reviews. Last Thursday, I was in Austin at my favorite venue in that city, ACL at the Moody Center, seeing Keane on their Limited City 20th anniversary tour of their breakthrough debut album, Hopes and Fears. First off, shout out to the opening band, Everything Everything, who were great and performed some of my favorite songs off their new album, Mountainhead, which is in my top 50 albums of 2024. Then Keane took the stage to rousing applause. It seemed like this audience had been waiting for this sold-out concert, and Keane lead singer Tom Chaplin seemed genuinely excited to be in Austin. He prompted the crowd early to keep the energy high, and the whole night the band and the crowd gave 110%, and it felt amazing. I forgot how powerful and anthemic their music is, and their musicianship and Tom's powerful voice sounded incredible. Then I was back in Houston Friday night, where I saw what felt like 2 different concerts from one band. Peter Hook and the Light played the House of Blues and started the show with New Order songs, mostly from the album Substance, which had the boomer goth audience moving on the crowded floor. Then after a 20-minute break, the band came back to frenzy the audience with Joy Division songs, culminating in the finale sing-along to Love Will Tear Us Apart, which Hookie sang with real emotion that he seemed to get from the Houston crowd. In hindsight, I got the sense that Hookie prefers his association with the music of Joy Division. No doubt he's a major contributor to the music of New Order, and he was essential to both bands, but he seemed more connected to the early punk rock aesthetic, especially when he would pose with his muscled arm in the air, ready to attack the low-slung bass guitar he still commands. I had fun seeing New Order and their amazing effects show last summer, but for the real deal, go see Peter Hook and the Light. Thanks, guys.
All right.
That was pretty good.
That's pretty good.
Review, Scott. Well done.
Bringing it.
Yeah.
Keane. I didn't know Keane was out playing shows.
Right? It caught me by surprise because, for some reason, it's a mistake on my part, Keane and Snow Patrol are like
totally fair.
Similar spots.
Yes, absolutely.
Right? And Snow Patrol has a new song out.
Yes.
So I don't... Are they the same people?
I like that everybody instantly says, yeah, I absolutely get that.
You know, his review does make the case for Peter Hook to get at least considered for the musical excellence for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
How about it?
First, the Rock Hall is to sort out Joy Division New Order, which
Yeah.
got to the ballot 2 years
That's-
ago
Wow.
as one thing, like doing Faces, Small Faces.
Yeah. Good luck with that, Alan. All right. So we've got new music picks. I'll tell you what, I'll start it off.
Okay.
And I don't know, I don't think that you have picked this one already. This is a new song from the Linda Lindas. The song is called No Obligation, which is, in fact, the title track from their new album, upcoming new album. And it is, it's great. It's the 3rd single from this upcoming album, including their collabo with Weird Al Yankovic.
Oh, I did pick that a few weeks back.
Yes, you did. So this is the 2nd album, which is going to be called No Obligation, set to release on my birthday, October 11th. It's Eloise Wong who wrote that one, and it is a rockin' number. The band says that Eloise wrote this song because we won't adhere to what anyone else thinks we should sound like or who they think we are. We don't make music out of obligation. We make music out of love. So Linda Lindas with No Obligation, their new single. Can't wait for the rest of this record. My other pick is Snakegang which, if you've been following along in your book, is Snake Hips and Earth Gang, who have been working together for a couple of years now. And they have a song just out called Don't Rush. And it is from this upcoming, actually, it's not an upcoming album. It's Snakegang Volume 1, which came out initially in 2021. But there is a deluxe edition, which is due for release. A deluxe edition features this brand new track called Don't Rush. But it's Snakegang, which is Snake Hips and Earth Gang together. And again, a rockin' little number. There you go.
All right. So I got two. I will start with one from Suki Waterhouse. The song is called Model, Actress, Whatever.
I love that.
Which,
Ma.
if you know anything about Suki Waterhouse, she kind of is a model, actress, whatever, largely known, like it or not, as the spouse of Robert Pattinson, but one of the stars in Daisy Jones and the Six, and a new album out unfortunately called Memoir of a Sparkle Muffin. I'm not really at ease with that as an album title, but the song, but I like the album, and I like this song very much, which is almost sort of shoegazy, sort of big, lush, sort of orchestral feel to it, kind of washes of sounds. A sad song about being in the spotlight, which, is a certain sort of a subgenre, but she makes you feel it. She makes you feel her loneliness, what happens after you hit the big time. And I like this song a whole lot. And then a new song from Soccer Mommy. Sophie Allison has an album coming out called Evergreen. This is the third single that's coming out, that's out from that, a song called Driver, which I don't know, Roger, if you have listened, but is very, I think, in your sort of 90s, not really grungy, but like this goes on a playlist with like Liz Phair, Belly, like very sort of chugging guitars, a little bit of a grungy sort of thing. And she does good. This is particular, sort of on the rocking edge for Soccer Mommy. And I don't have a date for the album. I'm sure it's out there, Evergreen coming soon, but Driver, the song that's out now, my other pick for the week.
Good one.
Roger, you got something?
Yes, my pick is not a song, but an album or an EP. Thankfully, we got a surprise drop of a live album from Raye last week, live at Montreux Jazz Festival. And it is, as Apple says, a masterclass in live pop and R&B. This girl can do no wrong. She can bob and weave through genres like no one I've ever heard. And I am just waiting for her to have that one moment where the rest of the world catches on to her. And I don't know what that moment or song needs to be, but everyone needs to know who Raye is. She is just fantastic.
They just re-aired the SNL that she was the musical guest on.
That performance was so great.
That's amazing.
Jaw-dropping.
So great. Yeah. Yeah, you hoped that was going to, and it bumped up the profile a bit, but you're right. She's in one of those one song away from breaking wide open. So I like that you're flying the flag with every new project from her.
Yeah. Well, everything she does is better than the next thing, and she seems to be leaning a bit more into the big band stuff than she had in the past, which I love. And I think she's just so unique. And one of the things I like about her too is normally, European artists, when they sing, they lose their accent. Her accent is always front and center, and that also adds to the uniqueness of how she sounds and how she phrases things. And it's just really, really great.
True that I'm hoping that somebody, or a lot of somebody, start to understand how great this woman is. And it's that situation. I remember just having the same conversation with someone about Teddy Swims a couple of years ago. He's one song away from blowing up.
And that new song is great. I almost picked the new song.
Me too.
Bad Dreams is really, really good as the follow-up to the breakout hit. I very nearly put that on the list.
It's really something. So, Raye, definitely. I have not listened to that live record yet. I gotta. All right. I think that's going to wrap it up for this edition of Sound Up. What we ask of you, don't forget to check us out on all socials and YouTube. We've got shows up on YouTube now for exclusive content, full video episodes, and more, all at Sound Up Pod.
And remember, please, to give us a 5-star review wherever you listen, like our Facebook page, subscribe to our YouTube page, share with a friend. Take an episode, send it over to somebody who should know about what we're doing here on Sound Up, and always email us your questions, concerns, reviews, whatever you want to communicate, you can email us via text or via voice at connect@sounduppod.com.
We thank you for listening. We really thank you for supporting us here on Sound Up with Mark Goodman and Alan Light. See you soon.
Sound Up is hosted by Mark Goodman and Alan Light, distributed by Revolver Podcasts, theme music by Smile from Tokyo, produced by Roger Coletti for Roger That Media. Roger that.